Hey guys, Technomentary here with a video for you guys on is the iPhone 6 worth it in 2020? The iPhone 6 in 2020 are currently going for under $100. If you're looking to buy a cheap iPhone 6, check out the link in the description that I have included. So let's go ahead into the specifics of the iPhone 6. We'll first look at some of the specs that it has, and then we'll kind of look at the good and the bad, or the pros or the cons of the iPhone 6 in 2020. First thing first is that iPhone 6 was released in September 2014 in three different colors. You have the silver edition, which I am currently holding in my hand. As you can see, there's the gold edition as well, and then the space gray edition as well. Also, additionally, as you can see, this is the first time that Apple made the screen a little bit bigger. From the iPhone 5, it went to 4.7 LCD. It does come with a couple different options for storage, and if you guys are Apple or iPhone user, you'll know that storage is crucial, and the internal built-in storage is the storage that you get out of it, and you can't use a micro SD or any kind of SD card to expand it. So there's four different models of storage that you can get. There's the 16 gig one, there's the 32 gig one, and then the 64 gig and 128 gig. So depending on how big you want it, you might want to consider getting a bigger one if you have a lot of data, videos, and photos to store. The other thing to note is the iPhone 8 uses the A8 chip with about 1 gig of RAM. So that's kind of what Apple had available as their latest and greatest in 2014. Some of the key notable features of the iPhone 6 is its home button and also its audio jack that was released back then, but these features, as you know, has kind of been gone on the newer iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. If you guys are also looking to buy one of the newer phones, check out the link down below in the description as well. So let's dive into the good and the bad. First off is the good about the iPhone 6. So the iPhone 6, as you can see, it's a slick design and it's a lightweight version of the iPhone. If you have one of the newer iPhones, or if you kind of touch one of the newer iPhones, you'll feel that it's almost twice as heavy as the iPhone 6. So that is one thing I like about the iPhone 6. The other thing to note is the home button that is still available here for the iPhone 6 can be also a plus point for the iPhone 6. One thing to kind of first review is calling and texting. So if you have a phone and the basic needs are calling and texting, iPhone does a great job of that. You know, you never have kind of calls crash or even text message fail, because that's what the iPhone is meant to do. So at the basic level, it does a phenomenal job of making calls and texting for you. The other thing that we want to kind of look at that it still does a good job is browsing. So if you're doing a lot of internet browsing, you'll notice that it is slightly slow, but still you still have that slick browsing capability on the iPhone 6, and you're able to access anything on the internet with a little slight bit of lag compared to the iPhone 11, which over time, Apple does slow down its software. The next thing we want to talk about is music streaming. So if you're looking for the iPhone 6 as a music device or to use it as an iPod, it is a great option because you can connect it to Wi-Fi if you're not looking to use a SIM card, because you can use services such as Spotify without any issues, or SoundCloud, or Pandora for that being. Those apps still work great on the iPhone 6, but opening up does take a bit of a time sometimes. Even YouTube Music works great on the iPhone 6. So if you're looking for it to be a purely music streaming device, it does a great job for you, as you can see. Next thing we want to cover is that the iPhone 6 does support 4G LTE, which in 2020 is still pretty relevant considering the 5G is still being rolled out. So if you're looking for the most that you can get out of your iPhone cellular data, you are still getting the 4G LTE coverage on the iPhone 6, and that does allow you to actually stream Netflix or any video service that you want to do, which brings us to our next point that the iPhone 6 still does allow you to stream uh, any of your show without much of an issue. It does, however, sometimes take a little bit longer to buffer just because of its hardware that it hasn't fully been up to the latest standard. But if you're even browsing on YouTube, it, as you can see, we're opening up the YouTube app here, and it does open up the YouTube app after a little bit of time. But once you're in, you'll be all good to go. So these things will still work out for you without any issues. As you can see here, if I play a video right off the bat here, it's quickly does load up the video, and as you can see, the ad is popping up right
Abandoned
now.
buildings are
So
mysterious
those
places.
still work perfectly fine without any issue. As you can see, it's rendering even the images of the video up to a certain point where you do have to slow down slightly bit. So the next thing I want to kind of look at for you guys is gaming. So if you're looking to game, you're still able to play your favorite games on the iPhone 6. So you're going to have a slight bit of lag if you're using a game that uses a lot of resource, or such a heavy game user that it requires you to kind of use a lot of phones memory or usage of that nature. So that might still be an issue, but for most games it does work well. So it's all about what kind of game and their graphics that the game might have. So rendering graphics might take a bit longer than usual, but once you get started you shouldn't have any issues. As you can see here, I'm loading up Super Mario Run, so that kind of stuff won't be an issue for you. One thing to note about game is that eventually the iPhone 6 does only go up to iOS 12, and that could start being an issue for Game Center, as Game Center will not be able to render in iOS 13 because the iPhone 6 is not able to actually install the iOS 13 update. Let's look at social media tools. As you know, everybody uses social media, so using social media apps like Facebook still is supported and does a really good job opening those apps up and having that user friendly experience. Instagram still works perfectly fine. If you're looking to use Twitter user also works fine as well. But as you see, when I open up these apps, there is a bit of a delay when they do get opened up, but eventually it opens up and it's fired and ready to go. So those social media apps will go. If you're new to TikTok, there's also TikTok. It works as well on the iPhone 6. If you're a Reddit user, Reddit also works here. All of these still work and are still gonna give you that experience that the iPhone is meant to give. So now let's look at some of the other tools that you use. If you're looking to use it as a GPS, it still does a great job in rendering maps on your phone for GPS purposes. If you're looking to use Google Maps or if you're looking to use Waze, it still does a great job in terms of being a navigational device if that's what you're looking to do. Though if you're using navigation, you'll have to have data because navigation relies on having data available at hand. So Waze will work, or any other application that you want for navigation should work perfectly fine. The next thing I want to kind of touch bases on, if you guys use kind of any of rideshare app like Uber or Lyft or any of your other rideshare app that are out there will still work fine on the iPhone 6. Might have a little bit of lag in opening up just like any of the other apps we've been opening up, but it does still work. The last thing I want to touch is that it does still allow you to do your productivity tools if you're looking to get into using it as a Zoom to do your meetings, if you do a lot of that, or if you're looking to even use Microsoft Office, some of that features, it still does work on the iPhone 6 without any issue. So let's go ahead and close some of these apps and we can kind of start talking about the next set of item that we want to talk about, which is kind of the bad or the cons of the iPhone 6 in 2020, right? So, as I mentioned, all of the stuff in the beginning part was, all the good or the pros of getting an iPhone 6, but we also need to talk about the bad. The one thing to kind of note is that over time, Apple is known to kind of start deprecating its iOS update on its older devices. So, the iPhone 6 is able to only be upgraded to 12.4.4. That's the highest that it will go up to when the iOS 13 is currently out in 2020, but you're not able to upgrade your iPhone to iOS 13, which can cause issues with some of your apps might not actually work because they're meant to work only on iOS 13 because it's a newer iOS. So here, as you can see, I have iOS 12.4. What happens is over time, if you have Apple Arcade, that will a lot of games that are hosted using Apple Arcade will not work because iOS 12 again is out and you'll have that compatibility issue. Let's talk about the second point that's kind of going to be an issue for our iPhone 6 in 2020, which is your battery life. So if you go into the check the battery health of your phone simply by going here and looking at the battery health, right? This one has a 93 capacity because of the less usage on this one. But if you use an iPhone from 2014 to 2020, or if you ever use it for that long, it will kind of start deteriorating over time and you're going to have a decreased battery life. Even if you're running on iOS 12, which needs a lot more power, the battery life over time generally decreases faster. Finally, the camera. So the camera on the iPhone 6 is a 1080 pixel HD, which is great at 60 frames per second still in 2020, but it isn't the current standard. If you're looking for to do a lot of video recording or photography stuff, you are going to be bit on the shorter side because it doesn't do 4K or even video stabilization. So you might consider looking to upgrade because those capabilities on the cameras are not available. Finally, we want to kind of do our final conclusion. Is the iPhone 6 still worth it in 2020? Simply put it, the iPhone 6 is a great option if you are a light user that uses the iPhone 6 for basic call, text, music, or even light browsing here and there, or doing light streaming on the device and your typical productivity tool. But if you are a heavy user of the iPhone 6, it's time to upgrade, even if it's an iPhone 6s, which you can get around $100. Check out the link in the description if you're looking to get an iPhone 6 or above, or even an iPhone 6. I included a link to our discounted phones that you can find on eBay as well. Finally, if this video was helpful, I do appreciate if you guys hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys.